welcome to OverBoost 51. OverBoost is a podcast interview series featuring discussions with speedrunners about their history in speedrunning and gaming and the runs they're passionate about. I am your host, PMC Trilogy, and with me today is Nikoheart. Nico, thank you so much for joining me.
Very, very welcome. Thank you for bringing me on.
So I always like to start these off with current events, and we were already getting into this before we even started the podcast proper here. But of course, at the time that we are recording this podcast, it is May 8th, 2021, and that means very, very soon, no one knows exactly when, but very soon, the SGDQ 2021 games list will drop. I think I had found that you submitted 3 things, and so of course, I have to ask, let's say hypothetically, a member of the games committee is listening right now, and they're like, I want to take one of Nico's runs, but I don't know which one. Which one do you want them to take?
Alien Isolation, because that is going to be an interesting one. Again, myself and Drex are going to be doing the steering wheel race. So we have the funny thing about it is that me and Drex have been talking for a while about wanting to do a race together, in a steering wheel. But he said, so I'm not going to get the one that you have. I'm going to have a fuller setup of a steering wheel. So he's got the Fanatec steering wheel, and he's actually got a proper gear shift, or what's it called again? One of those e-brake things. So that little e-brake thing that you got to pull down is actually the chute. So it's literally a pump shotgun. It looks so cool when you actually see it from his perspective. So as a visual perspective as well, that is cool to see on the other end. But I think it's seeing two people and their different knowledges come together to obviously go completely fast. And if the incentive that we put through as well, which is to go to Nightmare, so obviously we reach a monetary incentive, that would be a lot of fun, because that game, if you saw my GDQ hotfix, let's just say that Nightmare didn't go very well. They memed me and they put it from very hard Nightmare at one point, and then when we got back on the time, to very easy. So, it's not an easy run, to say the least, if it's Nightmare.
But it would be a good showcase, right? It would be worth it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, what else? You put 2 other runs in there as well. Do you have sales pitches for those as well?
Yeah, so I've Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 4. I've speedrun both of those quite a few times recently, derusting Silent Hill 4 for Save Loads for Lives for their charity marathon. Silent Hill 4 is one of the most technical runs that I can actually perform on the steering wheel. There's literally something that's happening every single second. It's very, very technically hard. So I mean, even when you start the run, you have to literally throw the wheel and you have to press the right button. You're ready, from the first second that you run, you're already doing hard strats. I think it was quite a feat of accomplishment to even get it under 1 hour in-game time. That is insane for the steering wheel. So if it's anything between Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 4, I probably would push for Silent Hill 4 as showcasing. But regardless, it's awesome to be able to showcase different horror games, and they're different, the first person view. It's and the cool thing about Silent Hill 4 as well is that I actually profile switch to go from first person to third person, so there is more technicality behind my actual mappings as well.
Taking advantage,
and that's awesome to be able to commentate about and showcase. So, yeah, I mean, over the 2, Silent Hill 4 would probably be one I'd choose if Alien Isolation didn't get picked, for example. But then again, if you actually see the games list, there's actually quite a few people who have submitted Silent Hill. For example, Enigma's did it. I think Fungo as well. So, if we see the games list, who's going to get in? We don't know yet. It's just the games list.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, is that it's with crafting the games list. There's considerations of within a single event, over time. When's the last time? Silent Hill, popular series, of course. But Silent Hill 4 at this point has been in once. I think I just checked GDQ VODs.
Yeah,
it says. I mean, that's mainline events anyway. Of course, that doesn't include things like hot fixes and stuff. But
sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm rooting for. I've certainly had a lot of fun with Silent Hill 4. I mean, we'll probably talk a little bit more about it later. But it was really, I think, gratifying to see the GOG release and everybody kind of pick it up again.
So the good thing about the GOG release is that I actually took some time to to change the coding of the auto splitter, because that was made for the emulator, I believe. So I took some memory values from somebody who had updated the room-based splits to level-based splits. So basically, once you've completed the area, it would then cause the auto split to happen. So that's nice to be able to enrich the expandability of the just like auto splitting, so you don't have to worry about manually splitting and stuff like that. So it feels good.
Yeah, no, that's such a wonderful luxury. It's and personally, I run a bunch of old games, and I'm fortunate at this point to have friends who often all right, here's an auto splitter, please stop torturing yourself. Stop that. It's just but otherwise, I'm usually manually splitting. Well, anyway, on the subject of maybe old games, then let's go and hit the first stop along the way, which is asking, how did you get into gaming in the first place? Where does video gaming enter your life? What's the origin story there?
So, that's a good question, because it all kind of starts around, let's say, the Game Boy Pocket era / Sega. Well, if depending where you are in the world, Sega Mega Drive 2 or the Sega Genesis. No, this is Sega Genesis. The USA version of the Mega
Genesis
Drive
or Mega Drive, yeah.
I knew that. So I started off with of course, the classic Sonic the Hedgehog. So that's always had a immense love in my life. I remember going back, trying to go through every single Sega Mega Drive cartridge I have to try to slot into the top of Sonic Hedgehog 3, just to see what kind of bonus level you could get. That was always such a rewarding thing when you get that one special bonus level. I remember playing Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX for countless amount of times as well. So the whole Nintendo Sega era of classic video gaming per se has been just an absolute staple. And then it kind of just expanded from there, really. I think we've all can say that we've had that little Halo 2 part of our lives as well, where we could just do the 360 no scopes and stuff like that.
Did you ever do in-person Halo LAN parties with friends, stuff like that?
Well, I'd say parties of 2, but either way, it was still the same case that we had the big CRT TVs faced away from each other, so that we literally could not screen cheat. But me and my friend, we used to just go over to each other's houses, make sure that we had a CRT. We'd bring over our Xboxes, and we'd play for literally 6 hours on ends, each day, and we'd have both our mums try to come through and be like, I think you guys need to get off and go outside. There's a little frickle of sunlight outside, so maybe that'd be beneficial. It's no gaming. So, I miss the LAN days though, because obviously with current situations nowadays, it's the only thing that we really can do is online gaming per se, unless obviously safe measures, but you just can't beat the interaction of being there with your friend and seeing their emotions of you headshotting them from a far distance. So it kind of it's a small eventual progression from, say, Sega Mega Drive, and then had the Nintendo 64, playing Super Mario 64 constantly. That's such a classic, and then became my most favorite game, which is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I have an immense love for that game. I think I've played that way back when, at least 50 to 60 times, as a kid, because obviously it was expensive for video games way back when, so you would play the same game over and over and over again. So I think even just playing Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, even though my brain is gone from it now, is kind of a start for where speedrunning became a kind of love, because when you first discover something like GDQ, you love to see people play games really, really quickly and see their expansive knowledge of how they can actually utilize all the different strategies of a game, and even ones that you didn't know, to complete a game fast. And obviously, having played, say, Ocarina of Time loads of times, I was like, okay, let's see somebody beat the hell out of Ocarina of Time, and then you get to see all the craziness the randomizers nowadays, which I could talk about something interesting very soon about that. So, but it's just fascinating sometimes.
Yeah, no, you're hitting a lot of the greatest hits there when it comes to your the Mega Drive stuff, the N64 stuff. The way you were talking about LAN parties, So obviously, I brought it up in the context of Xboxes because, early on Xbox, you didn't have Xbox Live. When we were playing the first Halo multiplayer, you didn't have that option. That wasn't there yet. There were some options, but they weren't official options. But did you ever get into any PC LAN party stuff? Because it sounds like maybe you did. The way you were talking about it, or was it just always Xbox type stuff?
It was mostly Xbox for LAN party stuff. There was some things on the PC that I did do online-based stuff, and I still laugh about it to this day because it's kind of one of those sort of things of just like, oh, I didn't even think that those sort of things were quite popular way back when. But Worms World Party, I used to be in a rope swing clan.
Good. I want more details, please. I'm hooked.
Literally, we would devise each other maps for which you would have to complete, you'd have to rope swing from one place to the other, to the end, in a span of time. And it was a time based, we actually had stopwatches and everything like that. And it was just so much it's so much fun to see the skill level of people's ability to rope swing from far distances or big falls and stuff like that. It was, oh god, I haven't played Worms World Party in ages. I might have to pick that up at some point. I used to be badass at rope swinging, but I tried to play one of the Worms games recently, and I was just how swing rope? I don't know. When you have a kid, you have a lot of time, don't you?
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of time to fail too. A ninja rope is definitely one of those mechanics that was always the highlight mechanic of those games. I think I had World Party for PlayStation 1, and and definitely, or no, maybe it was Armageddon. It was World Party or Armageddon. I forget, one or the other.
Yeah, Armageddon. I can't remember if it was PC only for Worms or Party.
Yeah, that might be. Sure. I had first encountered Worms 2, right? Before that, even on PC. But no, the ninja rope is really, if you got really into that game, it's because you're getting into the ninja rope, and that was
absolutely
deeply satisfying. So this is a nice segue though, because one of the other things I always like to ask, since this is a speedrun interview podcast, our focus is going to be more often than not on single player games, right? A lot of the games you already kind of mentioned at the top, your Silent Hills, your Alien Isolation, these are primarily, sorry Mercenaries fans, single player games. And this overlooks, though, a major part of what we do in gaming, which is a lot of people have big multiplayer phases over the years. Yeah. And so, you already mentioned, of course, some important stuff, Xbox multiplayer, Worms multiplayer. Did you have other big phases? Obviously, any of the big ones, your MMOs, your MOBAs, stuff like that?
I think mostly... I didn't really go down the MMO roads. That was one of the things that I kind of shied away from because I've seen quite a few of my friends way back when get addicted to World of Warcraft and stuff, and I was just kind of I don't know. A few of my moderators they love World of Warcraft, and I love watching them play it. But it's one of those things of you feel like you might put too much time into, you might get that slight addiction of just oh, this is gonna take over my life now. So it was mostly just a case of just either first person games or essential multiplayer games with friends and stuff like that. But I didn't even touch the MMO route. I think I only played a few Final Fantasy games, but that has mostly turned into MMO nowish, hasn't it?
14 is definitely mega popular. To the point where I know 14 memes, even though I've never played 14 or watched 14. So I respect that cultural osmosis. That hustle is very strong. But I don't know. Final Fantasy is weird, right? Because 14 is huge, but also you still have the single player games, 15, 16, 17 remake. So and I am a fan of those. I don't stream those as much, but definitely appreciate them. What about any of the other? Because I feel like in the time span that we're kind of talking about here, maybe 2000 forward or something.
Yeah.
Multiplayer gaming goes from this era of dedicated servers, and you hang out with a bunch of people in the same public server. Because that was I played Half-Life 2 mods online or something, right?
Nice.
I was in a Dystopia clan for the Dystopia Half-Life mod, and I had that experience. And then, but at some point, probably later in the 2000s, you get into this kind of matchmaking and ranking system life where you queue up. You queue up for League, or you queue up for anything. Have you done anything like Rocket League, Overwatch League, stuff like that?
I played a tiny bit of Overwatch, but I didn't get too much into it. Like, there are a few friends who wanted me to play a bit of Overwatch. I happily played with them. I used to be good at like straight up first person shooters. I used to play a bit of CS:GO back in the days. A lot of Call of Duty, obviously Halo as well. I got out of the first-person shooting environment a good while ago, except I say I play like Alien Isolation. That is technically first-person shooter. But yeah, like when it was around like my 14s to my 18s, was when I was mostly into Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare 2 and stuff. Like I was just on that day by day. It was like I had like a nice little like group of people wanting to do first-person shooters. So yeah, I haven't actually like touched anything like that in such a long period of time, which is it's a bit of a shame really, which I might have to reestablish that love at some point.
I mean, it's hard to make time for everything, but you know, it comes and goes. For sure.
Imagine having time, right?
Well, speaking of marking time, another question I like to get is a sort of milestone question, which is to ask, we've gotten older, as I've mentioned several times now, and along that route, at some point, we take ownership of our gaming hobby. You know, chances are the Mega Drive, the N64 might have been holiday gifts or things that you shared with family members, whereas at some point, you went out with your own money and you bought a PC to play games on, or or a console. Do you have like a milestone that you look back, you're like, this is the first time with my own money I went out and bought this big thing for me to continue gaming that's mine and mine alone?
That's a very good question, because now I'm trying to actually think of way back when. I think the very first one was the Xbox 360. That was literally one of the first consoles I bought with my own my own sweat and blood and money, like when I started my first job. I didn't get the Xbox after that. I think the next one would have been the Switch. Just recently, I got the Dreamcast of my own accord, which was that was a bit of like a nice gratuity from the community as well, who wanted to get me into playing some Dreamcast games on stream. So I can't wait to do that. The nice thing about it as well is that obviously in 2021, we have the upscalers and the little HDMI adapters that plug directly into the actual AV ports of the Dreamcast. So you get the nice scaling and everything like that.
Oh, so, you have a DC digital on that?
Yeah, well, it's not a DC digital. It's, wait, what one is it? I need to double check what that one is now. Dreamcast HDMI, because there's just like a straight up plug and play one now. Okay. It's the Sega Dreamcast HD converter, simple plug and play. Okay, so
it's just an exterior converter. Okay, I mean, it's fine. That's what I use as well. Like I am not a OSSC RetroTink person. I respect the people who do that.
I've always wanted to go into that OSSC route. There was a new one. I think the RetroTink just had a major update,
came out.
Didn't it?
Yeah. No.
But the chassis for it looks really, really nice, doesn't it?
Really. I mean, it's interesting that these sorts of enthusiast products, and like it's really cool that there's this emerging market for them. I'm not into the AV stuff as much, but I will admit I am very much into the optical drive emulators and the flash cards. Yeah. Because like all these disc readers are just going. They're just turning the dust, and I want to get into these games. I want to play them. I'm not really. So it's a good option. It costs a bundle to be able to actually fix like the optical, like the LED for it as well. Like it's just, and there's not many places that will do it nowadays to fix it. Yeah. And it's like it's almost like a specialist job now, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, apparently for servicing and things like that. I mean, I don't know what it is like out your way. I'm fortunate in that in the U.S. there's all sorts of weird people, and I'm in the Philadelphia area, and there's a guy in the Brooklyn area who does a really good job servicing consoles. And so like when I got a PlayStation 1 with an X station in it, and I was able to ship that over, and he did a great job installing it, shipped it back, and it was relatively affordable. So I played this. I know actually I recently had to get I don't know how much. This is a tangent, but I recently got a Memcard Pro. Do you know what that is?
I'm aware. I'm aware.
Which of course is bought from 8-Bit Mods, which is a UK based shop. So I got Royal Mail. So I was not ready for that. I was like, okay, the Royal Mail.
Classic.
Yeah. So that was good. All right, let's get back on topic before we go too deep into the hardware whole of things. Well, I guess at this point, you kind of touched on it already with the Ocarina of Time repeated attempts, but the obligatory speedrun interview podcast question is, how did you discover speedrunning?
I was obviously, the staple was going to be GDQ because I was actually quite unaware of speedrunning until about 2015. And then I saw a speedrun on the YouTube, and I was just kind of like, okay, I must watch all of the speedruns because you realize like it's not just limited like to one game. And then I saw like how many different runs that were being done for this games like quick events, and I just said to myself, right, I'm going to set myself about a week just to watch a load of speedruns, and then next thing I know, Summer Games Done Quick 2015 is on. I'm like, well, that week is extended, so I just literally started to watch loads and loads of speedruns, and I think like it's funny because I think the first one I ever watched at one point was like a Mirror's Edge run. And like I played that like not so long like after watching, I was like, God damn, these people are fast. I mean, that is quite a fast game in itself, but then you watch somebody going super fast at that game, you just kind of like, God damn, if you know what I mean.
That's an impressive one, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really awesome to just see like the expansive knowledge of people's minds, as I mentioned, and I kind of just got hooked eventually when my friend, the Psychohypnotic, who is Alien Isolation speedrunner, now partner, he was doing Alien Isolation speedruns on YouTube, and I was kind of like, oh wait, he actually streams as well. And this is kind of like when I was first discovering Twitch. Okay. And became nicely integrated in his community. And then I kind of said to him at one point, like, you know what, if I'm going to speedrun anything, it will be Alien Isolation, but I'll meme it out. I'll learn it from absolute scratch to do the hardest run possible, which was Nightmare No Major Glitches. And I just said to him, hey, what? It's a meme. I'll do it. I'll learn it, and I'll let you know how it goes. And you can actually see in one of his world record runs, you can still see that promise in the chats. And I love to go like, see, I said it. So that's kind of like where I first started speedrunning in the first place, was as a meme promise to a friend. So, and then everything kind of took off from there, and it went from just like keeping a mouse running to the kind of like unconventional stuff I do now. So it's a very nice evolution of speedrunning journey, I guess.
Yeah, you know, it's shout outs to people, you know, other friends, streamers, whoever, you know, that encourage others to run.
Oh, for real, yeah.
So often I really do see that make a difference, you know, because I on this podcast I occasionally do run into like the true pioneers who existed in the wilds of Justin TV. But just as often, you know, I'm encountering people who got into watching someone and were inspired, you know, oftentimes with direct contact, you know, with that sort of follow-up. So really, you know, shout outs to that kind of encouragement. Let's do some speedrun individual game takes.
Okay.
So we know that Alien Isolation was in fact your first speedrun, right? First time you recorded and streamed it and everything.
That's correct.
Okay. Of all of the speedruns that you have done, and I'm going to narrow this down to category as well, what is your favorite?
That is tough, because I kind of want to say jazz punk. Like, there's something so like there's something so iconic about the environment of jazz punk, and like just how like silly it is, how wacky it is, the art style and some of the mechanics. It's just, there's like a little hidden love for me just in the bottom of my heart, if you know what I mean. Obviously, whilst Alien Isolation is still my favorite game to run, of the environment of the game and the art style, I love like wacky games sometimes, and that game just kind of like hits me in all of the right little parts. For example, like riding the gravy boat in the game, I love that. So
pretty good.
all of the wackiness, like I just adore. So that's like a hidden flame for me anyway.
What about the flip side? What is the speedrun that you have done and you said, oh, this is a bad idea, I'm not doing this again?
Well, realistically, I could say Silent Hill 4 technically, because I didn't realize how hard that was going to be when I first started. Like, I started learning the run, I was like, oh no, here we go. And it took me a while to get used to it, but again, you get out of that environment of hating it to then loving it. But the reason that like it's like you say one of the hardest runs is because instantly it throws you in, and you have to be like, you know, game mode straight away. Like with all the other games that I've run, there's always like a nice little buffer space before you have to go harder into actually speedrunning. That is the game where like I think the most resetability happens, to say the least. because you could reset within the first 2 seconds. Essentially, if you don't get out of the first door within the first like 2 seconds or under, you're just like, okay, rip, and then you have to do the whole reset process, and then that continuous reset can drag some people down mentally, and it has done that for me as well. We all know that quick resets is just mentally debilitating sometimes. So this is why, like, again, with Alien Isolation, it takes about like 15 minutes or so till you get hard into the run, and that's where you can be a bit more relaxed anyway, and where it doesn't, like, if you reset, it's not as disastrous. So Silent Hill 4 resetability is more disastrous, to say the least.
Yeah.
And same with Outlast as well, because of the, when I started running it, they had the bush skip, because normally you would have to do the skip that was, you have to go through the left-hand side, and you have to jump up onto the window, and then you have to go falling down through invisible walls and stuff like that. Within the newer strats that I found, you could literally skip over a bush and it would get instantly into the save zone. But to get over there, you have to like elevate yourself up perfectly on a curb and just get the right kind of like boost up into the wall to then jump. And especially on the wheel, it is not hard to turn sometimes. It's not hard to get that right movement, and especially with the field of view, you can't see where you're running sometimes. So that is also like a harder resetability run, which, but between the two, Outlast, Silent Hill 4 is one of the tougher ones. And that's, it's kind of like the ones where you're just sitting there like, oh no.
How about a game that you would like to speedrun, but you have not gotten around to it just yet?
There are so many different games that I want to do. I'm actually looking through my speedruns to learn. So I promised this a while ago. There's 2 games that I promised a while ago that I wanted to do, which is Shrek 2 and Hello Kitty Roller Rescue. Because I like it's always good to have like a meme game every so often. I thought like, whatever better game to do than Hello Kitty. I even thought about like speedrunning a putt-putt game at one point. So I do want to go like I actually want to do like a month of like meme runs at some point. I think that'd be like an absolutely hysterical period of time to go like, oh hey, yes, you know that game that you played as a kid? Well, here it is as a speedrun format. You know that Barbie game that you played? Hey, how about speedrun, if you know what I mean? So I just want to go down that route, but again, it takes the time to learn a run, to get confident at it, to be able to showcase it, find your own little memes to interject as well. So almost like creating your own little show with the run as well at the same time. Now, I think with the format I do of speedruns as well, it's not just a speedrun, it's kind of like a show and a speedrun to like have like that interactability and the just the entertainment value with like memery and stuff like that as well. So it's kind of finding the just finding like the comfortable balance to like find the polar opposites and smash them in together, like one like Smash Mouth All-Star Cut or something.
No, but it really is. It's hard to know because when you put the effort into learning the run, because you can't know how it's gonna. I mean, you can hope, you can have theories about how it will perform in a stream or in a marathon setting, but you're not really gonna know that until you've done, at least some of the work. And it's always it's hard, right? You have that list. You're like, oh, this would probably be great, but like, I mean, I can actually list off
a few games that I intend to learn over the next few years. I've got Mirror's Edge any percent on a steering wheel, Crypto the Necrodancer, Hellblade. I've got Halo 2, Super Metroid any percent, obviously Shrek 2. I want to do Minecraft as well at some point. I was picked by one of the community to learn the Minecraft any percent on a steering wheel. There's a few other games that I've got. Metroid Prime as well on a wheel. I think that would be a really good run because of like essentially like the whole operation that I have on a wheel is like you got to look up, you got to look down, like pretty set, and everything is kind of based around like the first person perspective. That could be a really, really, really good run to do.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about that quite as specifically.
Like everything's pretty much all like really mapped down different formats. It's just a case of getting it mapped into X input for, I guess, the GameCube and stuff. So
right. Well, okay, I think we're gonna get to more steering wheel questions in a second. Of course, I have some, but before we get there, my one more specific game question is: how about a favorite speedrun to watch that you have no plans to run yourself?
Okay, that is oh my goodness me, I haven't actually thought about that in a long time. I love, as I mentioned earlier, Mirror's Edge. I love watching Mirror's Edge run. I don't know why. There's something fascinating about watching Mirror's Edge run. I don't know why. Like, I think it's just speed mixed with speed. That's the best way I can say it. Because there's something about the out of bounds in Mirror's Edge as well that fascinates me. Like when you have to fall into, again, specific places to trigger a cutscene. I don't know. Mirror's Edge just holds, a little place in my heart to watch.
No, that's extremely fair. Well, let's get into the history then, because I asked how you got into speedrunning, but I feel like the natural next question is, how did the steering wheel thing come about? Where does that enter into things?
Oh god, this is a fun story because my friend Nicktacular on Twitch, shout out to Nicktacular, he was playing Rainbow Six Siege with a steering wheel, and he was getting like shotgun headshots like up the wazoo. He was like literally poning it. I haven't used the word poning in like 4 years. I can't believe I even just threw that in an interview. But like he was playing that, and I was just like, how the devil did you make this work? I am super intrigued. I want to know everything. And I said to him, like, I wonder if I did this with Alien Isolation. So he gave me the make-off wheel that he used, the software that he used. He gave me some heads up on how to map it correctly with the software. And I just kind of said, seeing as you're playing like just games randomly, I want to try to speedrun with the wheel. And it just kind of like evolved from there. It's like, if I can do Alien Isolation on the steering wheel, what else can I do? And then I kind of found out that like, oh hi, I like this. This is fun. This is like enjoyable. I'm actually getting more enjoyment out of anything that I've been doing recently because like of the unconventional ability. There's something satisfying to me about playing a game unconventionally. Like it's always fun to play a game normally and to get the satisfaction of beating the game, stuff like that. But beating a game in a different method, in a different format, is always super exciting. And especially at the end of like an Alien Isolation speedrun, there's always a satisfaction to know that that game has been completed on a steering wheel. Same with any game. I don't know. There's it's just something that like. With the appeal as well of what I'm doing with the wheel as well, we've got like the big googly eyes on my wheel as well. So we try and find more ways to make it more enjoyable to watch, not just to say stuff like watching a grown British man like playing a game with a wheel, but like just to see the googly eyes like flying all over the place and stuff. So it's again the show aspect of it as well. And the fun thing about it with the steering wheel, like sorry to interject,
no, please,
is that we there's a little bit of an actual story about the steering wheel that's there's actually got a name now, which was actually picked by Elgato. Elgato pops into the stream one point. It's just like, does the steering wheel have a name? I was like, no, not yet. So I let them pick it. So they've called it Pal Dizzy. We're actually celebrating Pal Dizzy's first birthday. Elgato are going to be coming down to celebrate the party. We've actually just sent them like a whole gift box birthday package to say like, hey, you've been invited to the birthday pack. We went into the meme of actually inviting a company and sending them merch. So it's funny because like companies are the ones to send you guys merch, but when was the last time that you sent a company merch? So we went full on out with them. I mean, we had an artist commissioned Lunani to actually make like a little drawing version of the Pal Dizzy steering wheel environment. I might actually have to send that to you just so that you can
see what you're talking about. Yeah.
Let's see if I can find that quickly. But yeah, so we printed T-shirts. We've done a whole load of things. It's just. When you find a meme and you go full on with the situation, it's just fantastic when you can find that opportunity. So I'm just sending that to you now in your DMs, and I'm sure you can get a good little laugh.
Oh yes, absolutely. Oh, that's good. That's great. Yeah, I lurked some of your streams, of course, before doing this, and I noticed the eyes and everything, and that's very. Yeah, and I guess it is a baby. That's I noticed a little the gear shift.
It's not even 1 year old yet, the wheel. So technically,
right,
it's celebrating his first birthday
with the mustache. Unusual to have a mustache at your first birthday, but
I mean, it's got like an old grey mustache now. So it went in for an oil change, and it just it saw something shocking. So grew the white hairs and stuff.
Man, this is fun because there's all sorts of directions to go here.
Exactly.
I do want to ask about, so I have never had a steering wheel controller, but even a cursory examination of the universe of steering wheel controllers tells me there's a lot of options. This is this is like one of those things like buying a musical instrument. You could buy a really expensive version of this thing if you were so inclined and had the income. What can you give me the technical details? Like, did you end up getting the wheel you have for any particular reason? Does it have particular features?
Technically, yes, because the wheel is recognized as an Xbox 360 controller. So that we can use the software ReWASD or ReWAS, which recognizes Xbox 360 controllers to better remap. It recognizes PlayStation and Xbox controllers, and its interfaces work specifically for Xbox 360 controller orientated devices. Now, other steering wheels don't actually get recognized as Xbox 360 devices. They're all like either game controllers and stuff like that, so that software doesn't recognize it.
Right.
You can make them work, but there is more of a harder like a setup to do. So speaking of Dreyx, who I'm submitting the race with, he spent the time to actually get his Fanatec steering wheel, which is like, you know, like high grade steering wheel, and he had to code in the software FreePie to actually, like, you know, manually make everything from scratch to be able to make it work in a sense of remapping. And that took I felt like a whole day beforehand and a whole stream of coding to make it work. And I was there like helping him out, like, you know, what if you did this and you did this, because I know like the fundamentals of coding, so I could just throw ideas at his face and stuff. And we got it working, and it looks so good, like with his wheel as well. And the other thing about this wheel is that it's kind of like locked and bound to the middle, so if you turn it one way, it will snap back.
Okay.
For his wheel, it's a free wheel, so, you know, like you can keep on turning and turning and turning it. So there's a huge difference as well. And it's, again, that's another comfort level that you have to get used to, because one day you might like turn it too many times to the left, and you have to realize, oh yeah, I have to return it all the way over to the other side. So having that snapback wheel does make it a little bit more accessible for if you want to just quickly go straight again, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, to get back to center.
And you have to be mindful about all of the amount of buttons that a wheel has, and PlayStation orientated wheels have lesser buttons than Xbox wheels, I believe.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like, let me just double check. Actually, I want to see. Okay, so what was it? RWA Apex racing wheel. I definitely saw a difference between Xbox wheel and PlayStation wheel, where I think it's got to do with the home button and the side buttons, like, you know, start and select. That it didn't have. There's they're just trying to consolidate those kind of inputs, I think. Okay. Like I say, it's been a while since I've looked at one of them, but yeah, there was at least one of them had a different button. Oh, here we go. So the PlayStation one has. Oh wait, hold on. No, sorry, the PlayStation one has a few extra buttons. Yeah, the Xbox has lesser buttons. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, because the Xbox button has just the central Xbox button,
right? And
that's it. They don't really have any of the other main buttons. Whilst the PlayStation button has like the option and the share button,
right?
That's you can remap.
Okay. Oh, you can remap the share button. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very good.
So that's exactly what I'm doing as well. So you got like a few extra. Anything that's basically an input can be configured, apart from the assign button on the wheel, because Fungo's recently began into the steering wheel action as well. So he didn't actually know to use the software that I'm using. So he was actually hard coding assigned inputs on the wheel itself. So he went a further step of like he was doing Resident Evil 7 speedruns on the wheel, which is amazing to watch at the same time. But until he realized, oh, he's using software, he's like, yeah, this is going to make it so much easier, because they're like at the very top of the wheel, you've got like you got switch profiles for the D-pad to go either for the left stick or the right stick for the wheel, and basically like this, you have to swap around each time, and it just makes it so much more of a inconvenience, if you know what I mean. So the like the software helps to override that inconvenience, either with a button profile switching, or, you know, you just configure exactly what you want. It's a lot harder to assign that on the steering wheel itself.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask about some sort of hardware modifications. Now we already talked about some hardware modifications in terms of the eyes and mustache, which are very important hardware modifications. But I wanted to ask: is the red line on the wheel? Is that something that you put there, or was that how
no, that came with the wheel?
Oh, that came like that.
So I guess that helps to know exactly where you're directing yourself, really.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask about too was also, I couldn't help but notice that you use gloves when you are doing the wheel. Is that just you find it easier to control, more comfortable? What's the rationale there?
There's a good reason why I started to wear the gloves. I was playing Surgeon Simulator 2 on a steering wheel at one point, and that was like a nice little fun interaction with Boston Studios and stuff like that. And I completed the game. It was amazing. It was like I think it was like a 9-hour stream. However, at the end of the run, I had a bruise, like a bump and a bruise right there. Like I'd grabbed the wheel so hard that like my hands were literally swelling, and I was kind of like, this is not right. So I got myself I've gone through like different variety of gloves. I went for like a nice, just like a thin layer, just to kind of like take the pressure away. And now I'm going for like padded gloves, like something that actually like when you grab it, like there's an actual padding between the wheel and stuff like that. So I've got it fingerless as well, so that like I can just like my finger can still like kind of like grab the edges and stuff like that. But yeah, like honestly, having gloves is a bit of a game changer because like you want to look after your hands, because especially if you're grabbing all the time, you're already like you could get repetitive strain injury and stuff like that. So having a little bit of like accessibility for just pressure relief and to let the blood flow and stuff like that means that it'll just look after your hands down the for years to come, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean that's often one of my normal questions for the podcast is I'll ask people just generally about what they do to avoid RSI, things like that, and I was kind of curious to hear, because on one hand I feel like maybe you are less commonly doing the sort of button mashing that you might think of for, say, an RPG.
So, I mean, essentially, I am doing this a lot as well for the gripping, So, because a lot of my left mouse, right mouse button are assigned to the gear shifts. So, I am constantly doing the same repetitive movements. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at some point if I get even just moving my hands like that might be too much of a hard thing to do. So, because normally when you're doing a mouse, you don't have that much movement on your hand. The only thing that you get the repetitive strain injury is your wrist, because you're kind of moving that part of your wrist a lot. There's a lot more hand movement going on. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
I mean, obviously, you just gotta respond to it and see what your body does. I mean,
absolutely.
It's weird to me, because I feel like speedrunning, will get my hands a little sore and I'll do stretches and stuff. But if I go and play piano, that's just nothing. I can just do that for hours. It's not a big deal at all. And it's I guess it just moves differently.
I mean, you are the only thing you're doing is stretching your hands a little bit out to one bit. I mean, the rest of your arms is doing the movement. So, again, different use cases, different movements of your hands and stuff for that.
Now, you mentioned it a few times already in terms of the production of your stream, but I did want to highlight it because I watched, I watched several VODs that you'd given to me as well as lurked in your stream, and it seems like you have put a ton of effort, especially into things like alerts and all sorts of different stuff like that. I think when I checked out some of your, I think it was the Alien Isolation and Silent Hill 4 videos that you sent me. During those videos, you say we used all our bit alerts. They're maxed out. Whoops.
So we currently have hit Streamlabs' maximum variation amounts for bit alerts. So, I mean, the thing about it is once we have this new technology that we're working on, where we can take alerts into OBS itself, I want to have at least a minimum amount of 1,000 alert variants. I mean, I want to go bit alerts are always my bread and butter for the streams, and it's hilarious that we can inject different memes and different a good nostalgia stuff for that as well. One of my 100-bit variants actually has 100 variants on it, so you get essentially nostalgia overload, a buck for your nostalgia, because you never know what you're going to get essentially. So there's a lot of classic 2005 YouTube memories and stuff like that as well. So it's nice to just have a little interjection of something that we can all relate to as well. But I mean, outside of like the bit alerts and stuff like that as well, like I do a lot of like visual gags and memes as well, where I actually utilize the software OBS for different like, and the different resources of plugins to create extra memes and stuff like that as well. So like I can do things like I can make myself like become large on the screen, then it says like meme approved, and then it takes like a snapshot of me with like my thumbs up, and it just plays some like corny like NFL music or something like that. So there's a load of different things as well, like different scenes that I've made, just where like I'm in the middle of like a jazz bar, for example, you know, just silly little gags like that. So that's been like the evolution of like variety streaming well before I started speedrunning, to do like find ways to like have more of a show behind everything, and just like have some good little laughs and stuff like that. So, and then you got to try to think about like, you know, with all that variety and all the bits where you have the time to be able to like do a skit, for example, how are you going to interject that with speedrunning? Because, you know, you don't want to have like something that overwhelms the screen too much for like people, like obviously the people moderating the run and verifying it. Because if you have something that completely overlaps the screen in the moment, that's invalid.
Yeah.
And that actually happened one point where I had the classic Robbie Rotten thing where he pulls down the screen, like, don't let your kids watch this. And I was just like, well, that's invalid. So I figured out the hard way of like, you know, I can't submit that, because that's at least like 5 to 10 seconds of the screen not being visible in that moment. So who would accept it, right? So I realized like the limitations of what can be utilized for production elements of speedrunning. And like the only little thing that I do is like, I mean, I've got like the alerts like sort of like central, because like you can still see the surrounding bits going on. I mean, like sometimes there's not always like a dedication to need to see what's exactly in the middle, because, you know, the verifiers know exactly what's going on anyway. Right. So as long as they can see the movement that's happening, then that's usually fine. I mean, in a realistic sense, it would be more preferable to probably put in the top left-hand corner or something like that. But, you know, I've had no complaints so far.
Yeah, no, I mean, it seems like at this point it's pretty much in. I like, based on what I watch, you know, all in good fun, I would say. You know, so hopefully, you know, the people who are doing the verification. Shout outs, of course, as always, to leaderboard moderators and the work that they put in. Can, you know, certainly for any sort of big. Do you moderate any leaderboards?
I actually do. I'm one of the moderators for Sweet 776, which is a short horror game made by Turnvex, and we have like a few dedicated runners there. It hasn't had many submissions yet, but of course I may hold the only running for steering wheel any percent. So. But I've done like the any percent and just the any percent, and I'm currently 4th on the leaderboard myself. But that was about 9 months ago. So again, we haven't had many submissions for about 3 months or so. But that's a really fun game actually, because it's a nice short like 50-minute speed run. Very, very easy to learn actually. So I'd recommend it if anybody wants to get into a speed run to learn. It's just a very simple back and forth. Click on this, click on that. You know, it's just a nice simple run to learn.
No, nice. So, all right. So I'm trying to checklist right now, because we've had a good flow of things, but you know, it's not in the same order as my notes. I'm like, oh my god, did I get everything? You know, the struggle is real. So
I get you, dude. You're doing great so far, man.
I wanted to ask, when it comes to this production, just because of the quantity and the amount of work that you've put into it, did you have any sort of background in coming to this, or is it all this, you know, all these the tech stuff here? Is this all just self-taught that you've just put this amount of work into streaming?
So I used to work in the music industry for about 10 years beforehand. So this is obviously where my love of audio comes as well. And I've been working very hard. I've been taking a bit of a vacation/hiatus to bring everything over from. I used to use like the Go XLR for my audio and stuff like that. But now I've got like a whole audio unit. I've posted my audio unit on Twitter. I could probably find a link to what it is at the moment. But I've been working super hard to try to like purchase audio hardware rack equipment and utilize it within like a whole span of streaming, recording, content creation. But I mean, beforehand, like I mean, the whole streaming aspect of things, I was So here comes the list of what I used to do in the music industry: photographer, videographer, graphic designer, 2 times record label owner, a DJ. What was it again? It was a blog owner for music releases. There's one I'm currently forgetting, but I did a whole variety of different things where, like, I'd go to like different club events. I would be like, the video, like the after movie videographer and stuff like that. I would do press shots for artists and DJs. So I had like a lot of like technical experience of like editing and audio stuff as well. So like I already then I studied at university for sound engineering for 4 years, so I already have like a degree of sound engineering like under my back. So like there's a lot of like different like things related to audio and video that I had the ability to be able to incorporate it into OBS, like, and like whilst I was still learning how to essentially create live content. It was like kind of like a nice gradual experiment of like how to utilize the software, what can you do visually and audibly. That's all kind of like led to this moment now where I can actually do even more with the expandability of the hardware, because I'm hopefully going to be able to integrate channel points into allowing the community to be able to actually adapt, change, and turn on and off different effects of like plugins within my digital audio workstation, which I'm hopefully going to be using Ableton. So basically what I'll be doing would be sending a MIDI output from the channel point into my digital audio software to be able to turn on the exact percentage of, say, a reverb. So people can say like, oh, I want to put on 100% reverb, and it'll just turn it on with the exact amount. Or, oh, I only want maybe about 12% reverb. So they can turn it on and they specify the exact amounts, and it'll do that. So maybe 15 seconds later, it'll turn off.
All right. I have to interrupt the podcast for a very silly reason.
Go for it.
I think my wife fell asleep on her phone and is currently typing gibberish in the chat. So I'm going to stand up for a hot second.
No worries.
And fix this issue. I'm so sorry. I'll
no
be
worries,
right
but
back.
no, do your thing. Oh, bless. Oh, bless.
All right. She was sitting on it. Never mind. She's all right. We're good. We're good. Crisis averted. Sometimes things are going on in your household, and you have to make sure that nothing untoward is happening. But no, thank you for. I mean, that was I find it really, really cool when people are able to take their skills from previous endeavors and segue them over to whatever's next, right? Especially when it's something that seems to bring them a lot of joy. For example, we already mentioned him once, I think tonight or this afternoon. But Eternal Enigma is kind of similar in that it was involved in like wrestling referee type stuff. Before becoming a streamer. And I just really neat, like, to highlight that sort of element to it, just because you never know what's your next chapter.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like I definitely anyone who's watching, like, if you feel like you're in your 20s or 30s or something and you're stuck, like, let me tell you, there's always a new chapter. Like you can do it. There's always
a new chapter, and I can actually talk about that as well, because after doing sound engineering for 4 years at university, I immediately went into graphic design. I became like a self-employed graphic designer because that's how you do things after university. You go against the grain, absolutely. But then after the experience within university of doing club photography and stuff like that, I tried to integrate it into, say, the design studio, where it's not just graphic design. I could do the videography and photography. And then after a while, I was just kind of like, I'm done. So I eventually, like, there's a bigger reason behind why I left like the music industry aspects and why I've started streaming per se. That's more of like a offline situation talk because of like the severity of it and stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of people know, but obviously in the sense of podcast, it's probably a bit more of like too much of a personal note and stuff like that.
Understandable.
But yeah, essentially, like I started streaming like not even like a week after I finished like being out of the music industry, and then I realized, hey, I enjoy this more than I ever did with the the designing and the photography and stuff like that. There's something more satisfying about being able to interact people live like that, if you know what I mean. Like there's something so just like, genuinely unique about that live interaction. I mean, when you create content on YouTube, there's that kind of okay, what's the best way I can say this? It's kind of like that lingering wait for feedback is the best way I can say it. Whilst with Twitch or YouTube Live, for example, you do get that immediate feedback and you can get that response of somebody's there enjoying you in the moment. Because essentially we are streaming as well to to bring a smile to somebody, to make a day and make a change in somebody's day, and to uplift an emotion in somebody. We can not even that, but we hope that we can at least make somebody bring an emotion and change somebody's thought process and mindset in the moment through good conversation, good laugh, good comedy and stuff for that. So once I've realized that that's kind of what I really enjoy doing, this is what I put a lot of my time into. I used to live with my family whilst I streamed and stuff like that. I used to be in the living room whilst they were watching TV, and I'd have to stream, and I'd have to be a little bit more conservative about my language than I am nowadays. So obviously, as soon as I moved around and then moved into my bedroom, I could be a little bit more of myself. But again, I had to be a little bit more conservative about time. And then came the bold, brave move of actually purchasing a house and being able to do things off my own accord. Now I was able to go from that 4 hour streams into full-time streaming. So I'll do anything from 8 hours to 14-hour streams, 4 to 5 days a week and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm finding a little bit more of my comfort zone so that I don't overburn myself, because I have become very burnt out, which is why I'm on vacation as well, to get myself out of burnouts, and obviously spend time with the audio and stuff. So it's always a nice time to be able to figure out your comfort zone, what your what kind of energy you can deliver, make sure that you got your life affairs sorted as well. But now I've got lesser responsibilities for outside world as well, because the lucky thing about my house purchase was that we didn't have any mortgage, so the actual financial situation is a little bit more of a lesser stress,
right? Which
means that with streaming, I can stream without any more stresses that like you say, you have to make a certain amount of money and stuff for that as well. I mean, ultimately streaming is not just about the money, it's about actually bringing a smile to people. That is the most important factor of streaming. But in the whole grander schemes, the choices I made was to make things less stressful and more of myself on stream, and more fun and entertainment and stuff for that. So so there's a whole encompassment of the little decisions that's led up to now, basically.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the story of it, and it sounds like it's working well for you. I think some of the approaches you're taking, especially when it comes to we mentioned earlier about having a new chapter. No, what's the next chapter like? And you made some of those decisions in such a way to say you know what, I don't need this certain types of stress if I have the opportunity, right? I can just sort of
exactly
jettison that. So you talked a little bit about your rationale for streaming. And what the practically making it work, as well as why it is that you want to do it. I also always like to ask specifically, do you have a particular goal, mindset, mission statement when it comes to speed running and incorporating that into what you're doing? Because obviously you're, part of what you're doing maybe is a sort of specialized routing, right? You're taking some games that have established runs, doing them on the steering wheel. But I was wondering, do you find yourself drawn to the routing? Do you really just love banging out the runs and trying to get the time as low as possible? Do you have a particular approach?
Interesting question. So I'm always confident in banging out runs, as you say, that try to actually utilize the mapped out knowledge that you have created for the run and stuff for that. Sometimes I don't know, doing a casual run, just a no reset run does become a good staple, because sometimes you become too self-critical about trying to get the time and trying to get the right split that that you just want to reset every single time and not even getting to the end of a run, for example. So doing just a casual no reset run does help out immensely to take away the self-critical stresses of it as well. When it comes to actually mapping out the routes and stuff for that as well, I do just utilize normal routing, and I just try to find a way to actually see if it will work for the steering wheel. If it doesn't work, I usually will sack the run unless I can find a way to actually adapt it. Because essentially with Silent Hill 4, I almost scrapped it at one point because I didn't think I was going to be able to like switch between the profiling at one point. But then I realized, oh wait, I can do that. That's fine. I can just do this, and then I can change it from essentially first to third person perspective. And then I had to kind of like, within that moment, I realized, okay, I have to learn 2 orientations of playing the game on the wheel, because you know, it's hard sometimes to, like, even when I do myself casually now, I often forget, oh yeah, I now have to change my mind focus in a second, because you're so locked and focused to, say, first person perspective. It can get very, very tricky sometimes, especially like how awake your brain is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is.
I'm very, very like all over the place sometimes as well, because I have a pretty weird sleep schedule, to say the least. So I think it was like about what was it, like 7 a.m. this morning I went to bed. So I was up in good time, so that's no problem. So, but yeah, like my brain is always all over the place as well anyway. So all depends on like how well I can focus in a moment. If I feel like I'm not brain focused in a moment, I will probably try to switch over to another game that I'm more confident in speedrunning, or not even that, just play a casual game, for example, on like the mouse and keyboards. And the meme is always like, I'm sure you can understand this as well. The meme is always with when I'm playing keyboard and mouse, is just like, who's this imposter?
Yeah.
It's so classic, but I think, like, especially like, you know, being able to take away from the steering wheel every so often is a mental relaxer at the same time, and that helps with re-engaging your mentality for the steering wheel speedrunning at some point. So yeah, it does help out for sure.
You touched on something that I did want to ask, which was, are there deal breakers generally when it comes to trying to do a run on steering wheel? Are there certain things you're like, if this comes up, you're like, nope, scrap it, I'm out?
I don't know, actually. I haven't actually got to that stage yet. I would like to see myself get to a proper stage of just like, nah. I mean, maybe that will, like, the only other cases for that is just like, if I look at a game and I'm just like, nah, that's not me, you know what I mean? I mean, like, ideally, if I could, I'd love to do like World of Warcraft on a steering wheel. Like, even though I've never played it before, I'd love to do. Oh yeah, sorry. A user Chotu in the chat just said, part of my community as well, said a racing game. I refuse to play racing games on a steering wheel.
I was wondering.
That is the meme. That is the meme. I refuse to play steering wheel racing games on a steering wheel, because you know, why else, right? Why else would you play a steering wheel, like a racing game on a steering wheel? Like, you know, I'm trying to do things unconventionally. Why adapt to the norm, right? I know, because it's also a good meme, because the secondary meme to that as well is I don't drive.
Oh.
I don't own a car. I don't do anything. So why is a British boy who doesn't drive doing steering wheel stuff?
See, this is really, really funny, because it was only like a few weeks ago that I had on, I don't know if you're familiar at all with Viper Racing, the BPG 13.
I am aware, yes, I am.
Okay. Who loves cars, has a car, speedruns nothing but driving games.
Yeah?
Huh?
Is it the BPG 13 you're referring to?
Yeah. You know, loves cars, has a car, does nothing but driving games, but I don't think uses a wheel. So I was like, is this some like polar opposite here that we have going on?
I don't know, maybe that's something that you can ask him next time or something.
It's
nice to like have those like, you know, internal memes with yourself as well, like, you know, because it's just nice to have your own jokes essentially. And I just love the fact that like that is like a recurring joke as well. And again, with the fact of not using a steering wheel, it being a recurring joke, there's always something nice to like just to fall back on and have a good little laugh, really.
Let's get into some of these specific games. I always like to ask her just, you know, how it is that you came to play games, how you came to run them. We've already mentioned Alien Isolation a few times, you know, as your particular favorite to get into GDQ. How did you first come to play Alien Isolation? Was this a game that you had discovered when it launched, or is this something you came to more recently when you were speedrunning and streaming? Because you mentioned it was your first speedrun, so I don't know if you played it beforehand. So
I have played it beforehand. Well, actually, no. I'd watched it a lot.
Okay.
I had actually watched that game a lot. Like the environment of Alien, the movies and everything like that. I'm such I adore it basically. It's been a long time since I watched a movie, so like I'm a little bit like lacking of knowledge here and there. But you know, just the concept of Alien, I love it. I love it. So I was watching Psychohypnotic do a lot of speedruns on YouTube, and then watching him on Twitch. You know, I was just very, very comfy. Like after watching it, being able to understand the run a lot more, really. Again, after watching it for such a period of time, we were joking around. We wanted to obviously see, like I said, I wanted to meme and stuff like that, and then that's kind of like how that came to be, really. So it's just, I don't know. Like, oh no, actually, it was as well. My brain is all over the place. After watching him play for a while, I played it myself casually on Nightmare. The Nightmare modes, just so I could really immerse myself in the environment, because this is something that you could probably comment on as well, is that you could watch a game being played or a speedrun being done, but once you immerse yourself into that environment of your own accord and you play casually, you almost forget what you've seen, and you are just locked and focused in that individual moment of playing a game that you enjoy it completely in a moment. Like, you know, past memories of what you've seen doesn't even become a thing. It's like a true first time experience, and that's also what drew me to that game, is that my first playthrough and experience was just, you know, I super adored it because it terrified me. And
yeah,
it terrified me to such a point that, like, here's a little tidbit of knowledge, is that Twitch have actually featured one of my clips on when I used to do little compilation videos of like not all partner streamers and stuff like that as well. But it's for the Alien celebration for, I think it was like the 25th anniversary or something like that. It's like they actually featured one of my clips on Twitter and Instagram. So like it was nice to have like a little bit nice of exposure from Twitch themselves for, oh hey, this guy played Alien Isolation, and now, you know, it's kind of like just again all led up to a point where I get to play one of the games and environments that I adore the most and play it fast essentially.
No, that's cool. It's interesting that sort of the approach you take. I certainly resonate, I think, a little bit. It's weird. I resonate a little bit with what you said in terms of how much of a speedrun you remember when you go to play the game casually yourself. Because I think that was like an experience I had. For years, I would watch speedruns without speedrunning myself. And I watched a lot of GTA speedruns. And,
right. Okay.
And so I casually replayed those games. And it was weird because sometimes, like most of the time, I would just be doing my own thing. But then I would start like a certain mission, and like the speedrun watching part of my brain did kick in, because I was like, I know where Salvatore is going to be. I'm going to kill him there. You know, and some of those speedrun strats are of course easier to adapt. Some are harder. Sometimes you just don't know what they're doing, so you can't copy it with just having watched it or not. But
for sure.
So you know, you mentioned watching the various aliens movies. Aliens is a weird license, a weird brand. There's been lots of games of all sorts of varying qualities and different developers over the years. Have you played other Aliens games?
No. I mean, actually, no, I lie. I played Aliens 3 at a friend's house a very long time ago. Like, one of my friends actually just raided me the other day. They were playing Alien Trilogy, and they're playing one of the modifications of that, which is, I think it's like, I can't remember what it's called now, but like, there's a few more modifications of like one of the older games coming out nowadays for the trilogy version. I know that like with the licensing of Aliens, like it's gone from, because Sega had obviously the licensing for Alien Isolation, and now that's all been moved over to, wait, was it Disney? I can't remember if it was Disney or not. But I know that 20th Century Fox were licensed also to make that game. But I don't have any like knowledge of like who's behind the team of the newest Alien, the Fireteam's game and stuff. And I think, again, it's rumored Alien Isolation 2, because I'd love to be like in good knowledge of that, of like what's been going on for that, because it's essentially after playing and knowing Alien Isolation for such a long period of time, if there is going to be a sequel game, I need to be in the know. I need to be informed, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. No, that's, I mean, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, but at that point, that's, you know, that's central to what you do, Alien Isolation. You got to be in on the ground floor there. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, there's always so much, like, you know, like within the Alien Isolation the Discord community for the speedrunning, there's always so much like talk about like rules and stuff like that as well, and like like people are just trying to solidify the absolutes for certain runs. Like there's still quite a lot of debates for like even on one of the runs I do, which is no major glitches, because there's still the determination of like one of the things is major glitches or not major glitches, and that's been going on for like a good period of time. There's still like not an absolute resolve yet, but I hope at some point they'll be able to figure it out. But it's just interesting that like like even now it's like what like 6-7 years after release, that like the speedrun aspect is still being deliberated on, and that's cool to know that like that a game still has that a speedrun community is still alive in an aspect. So I just need to be like in the loop of knowledge all times as I can, because it's just cool to see like the next like strategy being done or stuff like that, and then see how you can like what was this recently the first mission, they've actually found a way to shave off 3 seconds, for example. And that was like not even like 7 years after the game had been released, if you know what I mean. So something that's like insane is like a 3-second time save in mission 1. Like that's like mind blowing to me sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of the neat things about games that I have not played Alien Isolation myself. I hope to at some point.
And you should.
But it sure seems like a game with a lot of features. And this is what I always say is that features have a way of providing opportunities for depth, providing opportunities for time-saving strategies. I mentioned being fans of GTA games, and even years later, after all the big discoveries have been had, they're still finding these kinds of small optimizations, and they are born from the fact that those games just have lots of things going on. And so I think that's really neat. I mean, that is a testament to the depth of the game. Like when you have,
no, absolutely.
I mean, it's testament to the depth of the game. Also, testament to interest as well, which also helps. I mean, I feel like if you have enough people staring at the game long enough, it falls to pieces, like a Zelda game all seem to do. Sorry, Zelda games, you're just people like you too much. But even with something like Alien Isolation, which I'm not going to attempt to quantify the levels of interest comparatively, but as you said, there still is that sort of improvement optimization. 3 seconds is meaningful, at this point, exactly. At the level that people are playing at. Do you have future goals like with this game right now, with any particular categories? I know, of course, you're trying to shop it to marathons like GDQ, but in terms of maybe categories or times, do you have things that you're working on right now?
So I have been trying to work on doing the any CC percent on a steering wheel. Basically, the any percent CC is crouch clipping. Crouch clipping you would have to do on the mouse wheel, so you'd have to like scroll the mouse wheel at a specific rate and a specific speed. I am trying to emulate that on the wheel. I managed to make it work but it's not absolute again. Like it's very fiddly because like basically with the speed that you scroll can help for, getting through doors quicker, but it's hard to set the mouse speed with the software that I'm currently using. Now, if there was an opportunity for me to use being able to properly set say like an emulator scroll, for example, where it would recognize a quick amount of numbers being recognized, and then it slows down the number of recognized numbers being scrolled into it, then that kind of like human level of scrolling I could try to emulate on the foot pedals, for example. So right now with the software, there isn't really currently a way, but you can set like an automated scroll number, so it's like 1 2 3 4 or 1 2 3 4. Like you can it can work, but there's one door in particular within Alien Isolation that just needs that human scroll format, and I'm trying so hard to find a way to make it work, and if I can, then I might start to submit that into marathons, and I might try to submit that to the leaderboards and stuff like that. But it's just constantly trying to find a way at the moment. Like if I can do that, that'd be such a cool showcase. I've shown a few people and a few of the Alien Isolation community me doing it, but we all kind of were just like, it's not there yet. Soon TM, basically.
All right. Now, the run that you had sent me, the run that I watched preparing for this, was I think your current PB in novice, no major glitches, with a steering wheel, of course. Yep. And I wanted to ask. So I think I had watched a lot. I kind of put it on while I was working one day and sort of checked in here. I wanted to ask if there is a particular segment or trick or something that you feel is like the highlight of the run. Like if I had asked you what's like the few minutes in this run that I have to watch, what would you have told me about?
So there's a few particular missions. One I'll definitely say not, which is mission 9, because that's just an auto walker. I love the fact that like one of the actual QA testers of Alien Isolation always pokes his head in around mission 9. He's just like, nice to see you again. It's like, Gordon. But there are a few missions of like interest that are definitely great to watch, which is mission 7, mission 10, mission 14, mission 17 and 18. Mission 18 is where you get to try to get yourself out of First Sevastopol, and you got to try to encounter 2 of the aliens and actually essentially making your way out. And you got to be stealthy surrounding the aliens, and you have to flame the alien to get out. And they got 2 parts of it as well. So you think you've done it, but then you got to actually do the secondary part, getting out. Mission 17, you have to do a huge back and forth of stealth and specific parts of running to be able to put the alien into the certain parts. You have to it's just very, very scheduled of strats again, and it's kind of the big lead up to finishing as well. Mission 16 can be good as well actually, but it's not as interesting as the other ones. Mission 14 is just one of the infamous classic missions, one of the harder missions of the run. Mission 7 is where the first point of immense resetability can be, so that's always a very valid point to watch, because I do a sort of a backup strat as well, and half of the time it can work and can't work, because it's all about how you throw the flare. And if you mess up throwing the flare, because you got to try to redirect the humans up into the first floor. If you don't get them up into the first floor, that's a rip run. And if you don't run at a certain point as you go up onto the little platform where the humans are just talking to each other, and if you run just a little bit before, they will actually realize that you ran and they'll shoot you straight away. So you have to run a specific point so that they are freaked out. Then they go, okay, what was that? And then they kind of don't realize where you've run to from that point. Mission 10, there's 3 to 4 parts depending on how you look at it. I always class it as 3. So it's one of the longest missions, and that's why it's hard. The Gemini part, but second part for me, is a huge resettable point, because on Novice, the Xenomorph is unpredictable. That's the difference between Novice and Nightmare, is that Nightmare, everything is very, very predictable for the Xenomorph, because it's at its exact RNG and the AI of the Xenomorph all the time. You know what's going to happen because it's so alert that you can actually put things into a specific patterns. With Novice, because of how unpredictable that the AI can be, you have to literally think on your feet. And I think that can actually be why Mission 10 would be one of the most interesting missions, specifically for Gemini and the KG, the second and the third part, because more than half of the time, that is improvised. And the improvisational aspects of speedrun, because we're always used to watching speedruns that are completely and always exact. There's no improv, because it's always the only improv is just getting around the RNG. But this is a point where RNG completely is out of the window, and you have to adapt in the moment to what is the environment where the Xenomorphs are going to land and stuff like that. You don't know half of the time, so. Yeah, the improv makes it even more fun, and it's so much fun to watch as well.
Cool. No, it was fun. I really, obviously we already talked about your production values, which also make it quite entertaining to watch back. But in terms of just the sort of, I guess as a viewer, there's sort of a sensation of it being a ride when you're running from the aliens and you're spinning the wheel. It's kind of it's almost like being a Universal Studios or something.
It's funny actually. Sega came into my stream for the very first time, and they actually were what are you doing on the steering wheel? You what is this? What is this? And they basically said to me, you're just essentially the London bus driver of Sevastopol. Straight up, they said that to me in the chat. I was like, that's a screenshot, my friend. That is a screenshot. So Sega they've been so lovely to me as of late. They've been super, super supportive of the fact I'm doing the steering wheel speedruns. I've done a few different Sega-orientated games as well. They have been an amazing, amazing company to to just chill with and work with.
You've done Yakuza on steering wheel, haven't you?
Yeah, a whole month of Yakuza. So we've got through Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami, and we're getting through Kiwami 2. Sega, again, they were very, very grateful, and they gave us they gave us actual games of Yakuza to play. They gave me Yakuza 0, Kiwami, and Like a Dragon. So once we go through all of the other Yakuza games, we'll finally get to Like a Dragon. Then it's just amazing that like they've even given us the accessibility to play these games, and I'm eternally grateful for the fact that they wanted to do that. But again, they have been so supportive of the steering wheel aspect of it as well. Like they love it. They like Sega Europe love the steering wheel. Like, and as soon as I've done this bit with Elgato, I'm sending them over some the Pal Disney merchandising as well, because it's always nice to give back to companies who give to you as well. So but no, I've done a few bits of them as well. I did an Alien Isolation speedrun marathon for their 60th anniversary recently, which was an amazing showcase. We got to stream on their Steam page as well to, I think it was like over 42,000 people.
Yeah, that's probably,
which is absolutely nuts. And I think we had I think it was about over a couple 100,000 views total of accumulation of of people watching, which was amazing. We got to do a charity stream with them for Stand Up for Cancer, which was, again, a very, very lovely and endearing thing to do, to be able to raise money for a great cause, and hopefully to better research for cancer treatments and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, just so much stuff with those guys, and it's a nice group of community with them for sure.
Yeah, no, shout outs to the people doing the work of community engagement that are really supporting
for real.
Especially because it's a lot of times that's specific teams, specific people that are interfacing with streamers, and wanna appreciate that labor.
Absolutely. Like it's not an easy thing to be a content or a community manager, and like it's nice to have a person who understands both aspects of the company value and the I guess the person value as well.
Let's talk about Silent Hill 4. I have a joke for you. I was watching your PB, and I was thinking about Silent Hill 4 and the name of Silent Hill 4. And maybe this has come up before. I would be not surprised if you or someone in your chat has already made this joke. But I was going to ask, have you ever called it Silent Hill 4 The Vroom? When you're driving.
You're the first.
I'm the first, really?
You're the first. Oh, wow.
I was like, this has to have come up before.
No, you're the first. I love it.
Please take it, please.
Thank you. I love it.
I was like, someone had to have done this, but I was like, I have to make sure. Let me ask.
I love that. Well, I'm surprised I haven't thought about that up until this point. I applaud you, first off.
Thank you.
I'm literally writing that to my moderators now, because Silent Hill for the Vroom, PMC trilogy suggested.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, anyway, Silent Hill 4, of course, is a wonderful game, and we already mentioned. You submitted as a part one of your steering wheel speedrun submissions to GDQ. There's the GOG version which came out, which has been very useful for folks. What is your history with this game? And also, if you want to expand it to Silent Hill history generally, were you a Silent Hill fan back in the early 2000s, or was this something that's more recent?
So it's funny because I never had a PlayStation growing up. So I missed that whole era of amazing games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill on the PlayStation. So I never really. The only other game I played that was Resident Evil was I think it was Resident Evil 1 HD on the GameCube.
Okay, yeah, the remake. That.
Yeah. So obviously the last few years has been trying to catch up on the whole environment of PlayStation gaming, and obviously Silent Hill was number one for me to play, because I've seen a bit of that being played on Twitch beforehand, and a few different watched a few little lore points of that on YouTube, and I've always been very fascinated by the environment of Silent Hill and the mindset that goes into it. There's still a lot of lore that I don't understand, and I'm still trying to understand, because for example in Silent Hill 1 with was it that painting? Was it Silent Hill 3, I think. No, Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill 2 with the painting and the representation of the dad and stuff like that, I think it is. So there's a lot of deeper lore behind those games that I'm still learning about, and it's really fascinating to know just the hidden methodology of storytelling, basically. And after just playing those games for quite a few bits of time, I've always always wanted to see like what it would be in the format of a speed run. And then I watched Ecdysis, Eternal Enigma, like a few of those different speedrunners, Juho, for example, or Juhorse as well, do the speedruns of them, and it's just really, really fascinating again. And then I got to discover more amazing Silent Hill community speedrunners like Death Trobes, Mr. McSqueezy, Barizzle, and the whole Silent Hill community is very, very passionate about what they do. It's really nice community to be a part of. And they've been so warming and accepting into essentially coming in and like, you know, just for guns are blaring, going like, oh, hi, I'm a wheel guy, if you know what I mean? What was it, like Eternal Enigma, he popped into a stream one time, he's like, oh, it's a new Silent Hill, he's got a wheel. Like, he kind of like stopped mid-sentence, just like, oh, wait, what? You know, what? So, yeah, so it's kind of like interesting for like people who have been, you know, very well established in the sense of like, you know, very confident in the run. They've done commentary, marathons and stuff like that. It's interesting to see, like, again, to see the perspective of somebody coming in, like doing it in a new adaptive format and giving the game some more love as well. Mm-hmm. And it's again, a very lovely community for sure for Silent Hill. And I want to do more of that in future. I'm going to try to do Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 3 very soon. I mean, obviously, I won't be able to do the quick save, quick load, because that's just going to be impossible to do on a steering wheel. I mean, I could, but it's just not as accessible, to say the least. So doing like a quick save, quick load will be one of the most preferable things to do on the wheel for Silent Hill 3. I'll probably be racking the minds of Death Trobes and Mr. McSqueezy, because those are two confident speedrunners for Silent Hill 3 at the moment. And maybe Ecdysis, he does a bit of Silent Hill 2 speedrunning, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, no. Well, Ecdysis does every game. Every horror game, I should say.
What's his game total at now? It must be like 90 plus, I think, isn't it?
I think he went over 100, I want to say.
Really?
I want to say, yeah, because I think Game 100 was Parasite Eve 3rd birthday, I want to say. Was the
True,
meme.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he went over 100.
God
damn.
Shout out
to Ecdysis.
Yeah, shout out to him, Jesus.
Cool. Well, so with Silent Hill 4 then, you mentioned, you know, with the Silent Hill series, and you obviously have to kind of finagle around a few things. You mentioned earlier that you overcame the technical obstacle of the profiles and switching between the profiles for Silent Hill 4. Do you have future goals for this one? Do you have, you know, is there any particular, you know, thing you're shooting for with Silent Hill 4?
It's a good question, because I honestly haven't thought much ahead of the run. I mean, if I was going to expand on Silent Hill 4, I probably would do one of the other run formats. I haven't actually, like, I've tried to stick to mostly like the any percent or the easy like new game runs, because it's nice to like at least have an opportunity to say like I've done a speed run and I've done this game. But I have been like, for Silent Hill 4, I have been very intrigued by the 10.2 star run. Like that is like that'd be like a more integrated run of like trying to like get all of the required items and stuff like that as well. It's not too far off probably like a new game run, so it'd be like just learning a different route and stuff. I'm always intrigued to see if I can expand the different run. So like there is like some of the other you know, miscellaneous categories as well, like the one weapon mode. I wonder if like, you know, if I'd be able to handle myself well with using only one weapon on the wheel, because I do have to use the gun quite a few times in my run, because I'm obviously there's a good bit of confidence in using the gun. But I don't know, it's an intriguing idea to see if I can limit myself on the wheel. Maybe I'll have to do the one weapon mode at some point. I actually think that might be my next run to do Silent Hill 4. That sounds like a really cool idea.
I mean, that sounds promising to me. You know, we've been on the horror for a little bit now. And I know some of the, so like, you know, we talked about Alien Isolation specifically, Silent Hill 4 specifically. You know, you got some other runs, Sweet 776 you mentioned as, you know, one that you moderate. But you did mention earlier the one run that kind of stood out from the collection you gave me, right? There was a bunch of horror games, and then there was Jazz Punk, which you already mentioned is, you know, a favorite run of yours. What is the story behind you getting into Jazz Punk?
I just played that game one day. I said, I love it. When you play a game and you're just kind of like, you know what, I want to do more. This is so wacky. I love it. I got to do more. So I eventually looked at the speed run, and I tried to learn the run on PC first because I thought sometimes like what I do is I learn a run on PC and then I bring it over to the wheel, because it all depends on like how hard a run might be or stuff like that I kind of like deliberate between what I do first. So I did a PC speed run of that, and then I said, okay, it's time to learn it on the wheel. And I like from that point we had to like come over like a new category as well, because the guys from Jazzpunk they didn't want to limit it to just the wheel, which is an understandable objective because they want to incorporate like so many different controllers and aspects. And thinking about it now, I wonder if I could do Jazzpunk on the Ultra Racer 64 controller. I mean, have you ever seen that controller before?
I'm trying to think if I'm familiar with that one. I think I know what that's like.
So I have a few plans to do with this controller. So I'm not just going to be the wheel man at some point, which a lot of people do know me for, but I'm going to be actually utilizing.
Oh yeah, this is the one that's like, yeah, it is like I saw it and I thought it was like a fishing rod almost the way it looks. Yeah,
that's something I want to do as well at some point, fishing rod. But there's still the same case. So like, you know, this is why I like turn for left and right.
Okay,
this will be like forwards and backwards. I already managed to get Super Mario 64 working on this.
Oh, okay.
So, with obviously the knowledge of being able to remap it perfectly, what else can I do with this? So I'm wondering. Oh yeah, sorry, Chota even mentioned in the chat there. I've done Alien Isolation on a Stream Deck. It was tough. My fingers hurt afterwards, as you can imagine. But that was quite that was one of the tougher things to do, to actually do remapping, because for the Stream Deck, there's not a very easy ability to map out mouse direction.
Right.
It took a while to figure it out, but once I did, it was like it made it quite easy. But again, you're limited to like the lack of human motion to go like from up to down to left to right quickly, and you have to be formatted to you know, like that sort of like, you know, eventual like slow turning or stuff like that. You have to be very accurate with how much mouse sensitivity you want. But yeah, like I think as much as I'm branded as the wheel person, it's going to be more of a case of seeing what other adaptive controllers I can utilize, which is why I've actually developed a team called Unconventional Overkills to see what other unconventional methods can be used. And it's also like a nice like highlight and show lighting for, say, for people who have to do unconventional methods or adaptive controllers, like, you know, that's like, you know, maybe part of physical disability or some kind of ability that they are not able to utilize, like a normal mouse and keyboard, for example. So it's going to be a nice way to showcase this environment of adaptiveness, to say the least. So this is why, like, this kind of like a little, like, aside from like a new like goal for 2021-22 is like just whatever adaptive methods can be done. So I'm more than likely going to be looking into Jazzpunk again at some point to see like if I can actually get it run onto here, because the controls are quite simple for Jazzpunk. And that's another thing I love about that game as well, is that, you know, the game is wacky. The controls are relatively simple. Some of the glitch techs are tough. Surprisingly for that game, they can be tough. I have to do a lot of backups for it, because it's I try to learn it, I cannot. Some of the actual runners themselves, like shout out to Useless Brit for example as well. He's one of the moderators for Jazzpunk, and he's been like a really, really lovely person to, like, you know, just kind of like give me some push and moral support when I was trying to learn it and stuff, alongside with memes and stuff. But yeah, but like he tried to show me a few of the strats, and I just tried to do it, and I could not. But you know, he was patient enough with me anyway. So we figured out that, like, you know, I got to do the backup strat and stuff for that. But again, with that game in itself, it's just so, like, the best way I can say is ironically corny and hilariously unfunny is the best way I can say it. You know what I mean by that? Yeah. Like, you know, when you got like the those moments of jokes, and sometimes there's like no canned laughter, and you just got to go. Yeah, like that's why I love that game so much more as well, because it hits my humor levels perfectly. So it's I urge people to, if I haven't played that game, just play it and enjoy, because it's one of those hidden gems that will be within the staple of your game inventory for life, basically.
All right, you entered into the world of weird 5th gen controllers, and so I am by law required to ask you: are you familiar with the Negcon?
I am not.
All right, I'm gonna send you an image of it in the DM.
Okay.
And I just because I feel like you're already on the steering life, and so I think this is it was originally, I believe, something released for the PlayStation.
I've seen that.
I've seen that. Okay.
Oh,
the twisting controller, the one that you steer by twisting it. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. You don't have to do it, but I just feel like steering, you're already there.
How much is that? I'm looking at it now. That looks so fun. Like I've seen and heard about that before, but I didn't realize that. Like,
yeah.
Ooh. Namco, let's have a look. See how much. I actually want to know how much is it actually available to buy now. It is currently unavailable on Amazon. Okay, so I've got to look into eBay.
You gotta look into eBay for that thing. Yeah.
I like that. Looks like an interesting £45. Okay, I'm down.
Yeah, to answer your question, there was originally a Ridge Racer. The Netcon was a Namco controller, and so of course, what racing game was Namco making? They were making the Ridge Racer series. So yeah, primarily for that series. But of course, my understanding is it works for lots of things. So it just kind of, but it gives you that analog steering.
You've got my brain a-turning right now, is all I can say. That's exactly what happened with the Ultra Racer 4. Like, somebody mentioned it in one of my streams at one point. I was like, I have never heard this. I want to see an image of it. And it goes from image to immediate purchase. So, I mean, it's nice to also have a lot of different controllers at your arsenal as well. Like, so I'm half tempted to just place a bid on it now.
Well,
it's got a day left.
I mean, you got a day to think about it. As how
about now?
Twist.
Done.
Oh, there you go.
Done.
Bid is made live.
Yep, literally done. I literally just placed a bid for it.
All right. Before we make more impulse decisions, so right now, folks, if you're here with us, I'm gonna do some sort of exit questions to the end of the formal script. Once I wrap up the formal script, if you're in chat with us, you can throw down some live Q&A. We'll be on the front page of speedrunner.com, for another 20 minutes, almost a little more. But one of the things I like to do, since this is an interview series, is to get a question from my previous guest for my next guest, and to carry a little connective tissue between the interviews.
Ooh.
My previous guest was Bubzia, who, of course, has done blindfolded speedrunning. Most recently did Super Mario 64 16 Star at the last AGDQ.
I watched that. It was amazing.
Very good, yeah.
Shout out to Bubzia. That was such an amazing run to watch.
Bubzia gave me this question. Now, I want to clarify that when I get the question from the previous guest, they do not know who the question is going to, except that person's a speedrunner. And so Bubzia gave me this question to give to my next guest, which was, could you speedrun your game with one hand? And that was the question. So you're going to interpret that as narrowly or as broadly as you would like to do so.
Jazz Punk could be technically possible. Jazz Punk could probably technically possible with one hand. Alien Isolation, absolutely not, because again, if you're using it in a controller aspect, like if you're using controller on for Alien Isolation, you're kind of like dedicated to use two analog sticks, which is why I had to supersede using the Xbox controller on Alien Isolation and format it into PC and keyboard so that it would, alternatively as well, if you use a controller, it would actually make you turn slower as you're moving. So you taking over to the keyboard and mouse means that you get the normal format of movements. Silent Hill, no way. Outlast, no way. Probably Jazz Punk would be accessible enough to do one-handed. That is a weird challenge which I kind of want to utilize. And the thing about it, if I was to do this well, I probably could. Because look at me, I can just move this with one hand here with my thumb. I wonder.
Well, there you go.
I wonder.
All sorts of ideas for you in this podcast so far.
Absolutely. I haven't really thought about challenging myself to such a point of one-handed controller aspects or one-handed inputting.
I I feel like there's a joke here. I mean, I know you said you don't have a car or do much driving.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like there is like a joke in here somewhere about
so you say like,
inappropriate driving styles.
One-handed like this.
Yeah,
or something like
that. There's somewhere like, sorry, you need to have your hands at at 10 and 2. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like weirdly now, I kind of want to actually see if I can do that with Jazzpunk to see if I can actually get it one-handed, because again, just like I did with the Stream Deck, for example, I managed to do a load of remapping for like the mouse and stuff like that as well for just button presses. I could probably do Jazzpunk on the Stream Deck one-handed, and I'll see if I can make that happen. I actually really love that as a challenge.
Well, there you go. Now, my next challenge for you though is that I do need a question for my next guest. Doesn't have to be about speedrunning, can be about anything, but of course the question will be answered by a speedrunner. Yeah.
I think we can relate to the adaptiveness of the controllers then, if that's the case. So if you could use one type of controller that is against the normal format of controller, so say like, the Nagco or like a steering wheel or something like that, what would you choose?
This will be good. So
obviously you can reformat the wording of it a little bit to make it a bit more.
It's like outside the normal format, or I got you. All right. So I always like to spoil this just for. So you might not know who this is. They did have a run at the most recent GDQ. They've done a bunch of funny games, like that. They've also speedrun. So the first game is the one they did at GDQ. The second game is one they have world record in. Apparently, it's quite competitive. I did not know.
Oh, really?
So that'll be fun. That'll be a fun interview for next week. Speaking of the future, do you have upcoming games that you are excited to play that you're keeping an eye on?
So I just started playing Resident Evil Village on the steering wheel yesterday.
Okay.
Day one release, steering wheel vibes already. I'm about maybe half the way through, so I'm excited to finish up the rest of that at the moment. I do have a few games that have been given to me recently that I'm actually kind of excited to bring onto the steering wheel. For example, Indigo Prophecy. That's going to be hilarious. What else? Nier Automata. I'm actually going to take some time to play that on the keyboard and mouse because I want to give that game absolutely due justice of playing that normally. So that's going to be exciting to actually enjoy the environment and play it and just envelop myself in that environment. Skyrim on a steering wheel. So one of my buddies, the one who showed me how to do it on a steering wheel, he has the ability to have like a crowd control aspect whilst he's doing it on the wheels, so that's going to be another thing that I might be including.
Okay.
And I have been mentioning this around on different streams and different around on the internet that I am going to be doing a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time crowd control randomizer on a steering wheel, and I'm going to try to complete it. So that is going to be the toughest challenge, I reckon. And I think that's going to be like one of the first things I come back with after my hiatus and my vacation is that Ocarina of Time. So yeah, I've got a few things to look forward to at the moment, like a few different, a variety of different games, outside of the speedrunning format as well to do unconventionally. So yeah, some exciting times. I've got to finish off Kiwami 2 as well, continue the Yakuza series, and continue to enjoy I love the Yakuza series. There's something so fantastic about it.
And the great news, too, is that apparently lots of people love them. Because, Judgment 2 just got announced.
Lost Judgment? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Farouk, one of the world record holders of the Yakuza speedruns, he's stoked for it. So.
Oh, yeah. No. I love watching Farouk. I'm a big fan of Farouk.
Yeah, he's such a good lad. Yeah, so shout out to Farouk as well.
How about, speaking of shout outs, we've already mentioned a bunch of people in, various communities. Are there any other people that you want to shout out, especially people who maybe deserve more eyeballs on them? Because I feel like some of the people, thank goodness people have found Farouk and Enigma and a lot of great people who, are getting attention that they deserve, putting out great streams. Anybody else that you'd want to shout out in terms of hey, these folks are doing great work, watch them too?
Yeah, I've got so many people I could obviously rattle out, but I'll try to summarize a list into some people right now who are absolutely deserving. DJ Rebirth, he was my commentator for Silent Hill 4 for Save Lives for Lives when we did it there, and he is an amazing resource of knowledge of Silent Hill 4 The Room, or The Vroom as he said, and he was an amazing commentator, and he's a very competent speedrunner of that game as well. Hilarious streamer, DJ as well. Somebody that you guys need to go check out. I'll do the iconic shout out to my girlfriend. She is also a streamer as well. She plays a religious amount of horror games and just is a very, very entertaining person as well, and a very, very dear person to my heart. We've got.
Wait, did you mention her name?
Saravian.
Okay, all right, just to make sure.
Yeah. I could probably look at my list quickly to see who are worthy of, not worthy of shout-outs, but someone that I could say. Oh, Argic. He's a fantastic Sonic the Hedgehog speedrunner, Sonic Mania speedrunner. Just he is very, very, very entertaining. Known as one of the fastest talking speedrunners as well. So if you guys want to see somebody rattle their brain and it comes out in a formulation of just a blur of words, definitely want to check out as well. Oh goodness me, I could do a small little rattle of names here, Death Tropes, Miss McSqueezy, maybe Moon Runes V2, actually, and somebody who got me into the format of streaming as well at the same time, Dame Butter the Fourth, or Dame Butter IV. He is a no camera speedrunner or hand camera speedrunner. Okay. So not a speedrunner either. Actually, no, technically he is a speedrunner because he has speedrun Alien Isolation as well. But he for me is personally what I define as a horror streamer, the true embodiment of of horror, and his immersion and his environment of his streams is always such a delight to be a part of. So yeah, shout outs to just the handful of people that I picked up, but there's so many amazing people that I could rattle off right now. I just say, I love this person, I love this person. There's too many awesome content creators on Twitch, and it's just a privilege to be a part of to have some amazing friends that I consider life friends on Twitch, and it's amazing to share this journey with them as well. Oh, sorry, two more people need to shout out. Phoebius Fox, he is part of the same stream team as me as well, which is for Unconventional Overkill. He's been playing a lot of different games on the 8BitDo arcade controller. So he was playing what was it called again? I think he was playing it was one of the Dark Souls games beginning with S, I think. What was it called again? I can't remember anyway, but he's been playing a lot of games unconventionally as well with the arcade controller, so that's really awesome to see. And he's a very charismatic and amazing content creator as well. And to former Gunda as well. Sekiro, thank you, Katrin, thank you. I don't know Souls games or anything like that. I'm terrible. No. And to former Gunda, he is the team leader with me as well for Unconventional Overkill, and he has taken on the reins of the steering wheel as well. And he's doing all of his content just like me at the moment as well with the steering wheel. He has recently beaten Dark Souls 3 in just under 5 hours on a steering wheel, and it's amazing to see him go from just an idea of steering wheel to possibly even speedrunning himself doing Dark Souls stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him start speedrunning Dark Souls, because he's beginning to become more and more confident about it. So I'll try and convert him over to the dark side of speedrunning.
I mean, I think I had a Dark Souls 3 runner on the podcast just a few weeks ago, and it seems like a really great community. I've been consistently impressed by what Speed Souls does. So hope maybe they'll find a place there. Yeah,
you never know.
Where should people be looking for your stuff? What's the stuff to check out for you?
Absolutely. So you guys can check me on Twitch at Nikoheart. I'm on YouTube as well. I'm not as active on YouTube, but you guys can go and have a look at my stuff over there. I'm mostly active on Twitter. If you guys want to see some little jipes from me and some little memes and stuff, you guys can catch me on Guilded. I have my own Guilded server, and I'm currently partnered with Guilded. So that's guilded.gg/hello Nikoheart with a capital N. And I'm on Discord as well. So you guys can find me in all different mediums and formats. You may see me on Instagram, but I never use it.
Well, if you're here with us live, I did just dump some of those links into the chat. If you're listening to this after the fact on YouTube or iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you can check the show notes and you'll be able to find some of those links in there, which hopefully get you to following all of Nico's accounts as soon as possible. Nico, thank you so much for giving me all of this time.
No worries. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your podcast. It's been a privilege, my friends.
Now, before we move on to the Q&A, I do need one thing from you, which is that I'm going to use a cheesy catchphrase, like "let's boost on out of here."
Okay.
And then when I say that, I want you to give me your best rocket engine noise.
Okay.
All right.
I'm trying to think of like how I would do that. Actually, if I could do this well, give me a second because
Okay.
I could actually put on my reverb and stuff for that. So
Okay.
I wonder.
If you have any noise cancellation settings on Discord, make sure they're off too, just in case. Because if you put too much into it, sometimes Discord gets really mad.
Let me have a look. See then.
All right, I think we're good. That sounds good to me. It's not Discord's
Nice.
not cutting out, so.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, folks, thank you so much for listening. Let's boost on out of here. Excellent. Very good. All right, folks. So we are on the front page for another 10 minutes. Please, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. Now is your chance for some live Q&A. Putting Nico to the question right here on the page. Kodzik asks, what is a controller that you would never, ever try to do a run on?
Hold on, I can't turn my reverb off now. 1 second.
You're stuck in the reverb dimension.
Shit, no! Oh no! Why can't I turn it off?
You can't unverb.
No!
You've reverbed.
Why is this not working? Okay, is that better?
There you go. Yeah.
Oh my goodness me! Oh, I was worried there for a second. Sorry. What is a controller that you would never ever try to do a run on? Oh goodness me. That's a really good question. I say fishing rod because that has like literally some of the most limited amounts of inputs. However, I kind of want to do that. Just because of the sheer memory of like, just really see what can I even do on a fishing rod. But the amount of things that you could probably do adaptively on a fishing rod is very, very minimal. So I'd say if there was like, if I would never try to do a run, but like, just try once and then never do it again, probably fishing rod. Otherwise, everything's kind of up for grabs, really, isn't it?
Right. It's one of the things, too. And I think this kind of came out with what you talked about in terms of doing the steering wheel, specifically in some of the other controllers we discussed, which is that, it's hard to know unless you put the rubber to the road. You mentioned the software tools that you're using, things that are specific to steering wheels, whether or not you come back to center, stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to know unless you actually end up doing it yourself.
Exactly. I mean, I need to look at like a whole variety of like different controllers and stuff like that because I still have not like, let's say you've shown me today about a controller that I was completely unaware of. So I might just have to like take a day to just go, okay, let's make an inventory of controllers and then pick out the ones that I want to do and the ones I like, like the list of like, do and don'ts, if you know what I mean, and just like put one and one in each column. I might have to do that at some point. That sounds like a really kind of like unique way of like figuring out what would be good for future content as well. So I think that's going to be also a soon TM question, Kadzik. So we'll see what goes on.
Oh man, that makes me think like, so, all right, I don't see anyone else. There are people in chat. I'm looking at you, chat. I know you have questions. Do you get any like, since, some people might look at the steering wheel thing and they're like, oh, this is a gimmick. Do you get any, do you have any pet peeves for like people coming in the chat and being like, what is this about?
So, you know what? You are actually kind of like semi-right with the first part you said, like, this is such a gimmick. I've actually seen so many people being like, this guy, he's not taking the run seriously because he's playing on a steering wheel. Like, he's not a runner. He's not a runner. He's somebody who's taking a piss, basically. And I'm just kind of like, cool. That is honestly your opinion. You like maybe dedicated to the original aspects of the game and it played in its full intention, but just because I'm playing on a different method doesn't mean that I love the game, if you know what I mean. And I love the game I love these games that I play to such an extent that I want to try to take it on the different aspects of a steering wheel vibe. Because again, it's not just showcasing the fact that I'm being a British idiot. I'm trying to showcase of the adaptability for people who may need to play this game in a different formats. When people get it outside of their minds of like, a gimmick and they realize that it's actually a showcase of adaptability, then I think people can actually start to understand and appreciate it a lot more, if you know what I mean. What else was I going to say? There are a lot of people who are always so fascinated and like so overwhelmed by the fact that there is a guy playing a straight up horror game with steering wheel. So there is a lot of people who will discover the stream for the first time. He always says like, oh my goodness me, what's this? And you know what? I just love it. Yeah. I love it because it's opening people's minds so much more rather than like, to take away that environment of like, it's a pet peeve. I actually love it basically because it's now alluded to somebody, hey, this is a new format and it piques their interest and maybe they want to see a little bit more of what can be done like not just a steering wheel. So yeah.
All right. Coca asks, now we know that you don't play racing games with a steering wheel. That is forbidden. Do you follow any motorsports at all? Like, are you familiar with F1 now?
My dad is a huge F1 person. Okay. I've occasionally watched it a few times. My family have even invited me to go to like, one of like I think it's like to Italy to go to like one of the F1 places and stuff. And I was just kind of like, nah, it's Italy, but nah. It's like I don't know why. There's something about like. There's something like it's cool to watch, but it's not something that I dedicate all of my time and energy to. If you know what I mean. So. It's maybe a once a year thing that I'll just sit down with my dad and be like, that go fast. Yeah. Okay, I'm out. So,
have you played any racing games? Like, you have like nostalgia for racing games? Wipeout.
Okay, actually, I lie. Burnout.
Wave Race.
Oh, Wave Race. Okay, Burnout. Burnout 2. Okay. Burnout 2 is my ultimate favorite game because you get to crash cars. And that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Wave Race is a classic as well. So Mario Kart. If you want to go down a line in some weird aspect, Super Monkey Ball, maybe. Because that technically is a semi-format of racing.
Yeah, but you would play Super Monkey Ball with a racing wheel, wouldn't you?
Oh, I have.
You have. There you go. So. Yeah.
At some point, me and Formagunda will be working with Sega to actually do Super Monkey Ball. Oh goodness me, what's it called again? It is called Banana Blitz HD.
Okay, yeah, that was the most recent release. Yeah,
yeah, because we've obviously Sega can't promote the fact of like emulation and stuff for that as well. And the only way that you can really get those steering wheel controllers to be played on steering wheel is emulation, unfortunately. So I completely understand that that is a rule set that they cannot utilize. So obviously Banana Blitz, they're just like, cool, no problem, let's go, if you know what I mean. So we're just waiting for the date and time to be able to do that. So that's going to be a thing at some point.
Did you follow any of the stuff with because I know there is a sort of spiritual genre successor rolled out which came out recently. I don't know did you see that news at all?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So basically, I mean, as far as I understand it, is that the people who felt like the original Monkey Ball 1 and 2 were like the true essence of Monkey Ball, when we're unhappy with Banana Blitz, that there is an indie game called Rolled Out, which came out a few weeks ago, which some of the Monkey Ball runners seem to be very much into. Hopefully there is no bad blood involved. Like, obviously there shouldn't be, because it should be okay to make a game in a genre, and it shouldn't create bad blood.
Yeah.
But I don't know that for sure. But anyway, it seems like it was well received, and so
I'm actually going to link this over to Formagunda now to maybe see if we can start working on this, because this looks super interesting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for making me aware, because that might be a new thing that we do.
Honestly, that's one of the hardest parts, I think, of, like with streaming and playing lots of games and sort of finding your niche, one of the most rewarding things, but also the hardest things, is to be aware of indie games to the point that you like know what's going on. You know?
No, exactly.
Because like it's like and oftentimes it's just hard to qualify. Like, because I'll often say like I'm into like mechs and crimes, but like usually I'm into like third-person action game mech stuff. You know, I'm not interested in playing the BattleTech game. Seemed great, but not quite my thing. You know, so it can be sort of hard to quantify. Is your bid still? Sorry, I just saw Chetty's question.
Is my bid still the highest one? Yes. It's funny because like when we were bidding for the for one of the other Dreamcasts and stuff for that, my bid got like exceeded quite a few times, so I think it still is at the moment. Also, quick side note, Former Gunner literally just said, okay, when? So we're going to be doing that very soon. Me and Former Gunner actually need to plan out our Hades 500 race. So obviously we did the Hades steering wheel race last month, which we dubbed against like the Indy 500 as the Hades 500. We actually had one of our friends, Thomas Fry, to make a little visual, like a little stinger that looked like the Indy 500 transition. So we're going to plan out our monthly race very, very soon. So expect another Hades blank file to exit race very soon. And I was the winner last time of a total of 14 hours. So we did a 14-hour stream to be able to actually get ourselves out and stuff. And it was so much fun because we both vibe with each other very, very easily. So yeah, we'll be planning that soon as well. So keep a lookout for that on the social media.
Awesome. All right. It is now 2 hours in. I got one more question for you, which is, who should I raid?
Oh, good question. Let me have a look, see who we can get our community over to. Let's have a look, see. I'm just going to peer about on the friends list and see who's going.
Please.
I'm going to say... Oh, okay. I've got a very, very, very good idea for you. And I think this might be right up your alley. He's literally just started to stream as well. So, okay. So get this. My friend, the Traveling Inquisitor, is doing Diablo 3 100%. Solo non-seasonal speedrun. And it's he basically does 100% speedruns. He currently holds like the longest 100% segmented speedrun for Hyrule Warriors. So let me just fill out the name for you, and we'll get over to him then. Okay, here we go.
All right, let me grab that name. Excellent. Let me do that. All right. Well, I'm going to send folks over there and queue that up. Thank you again for the time. This has been a ton of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. And
thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun today, buddy.
Excellent. Well, let me get you off to your day, and I'll send folks over to the Traveling Inquisitor. Take care.
See you later, guys.
Peace.